The Hidden Lies of Cedar Falls. The early summer wind swept softly across the quiet town of Cedar Falls, Virginia, as Alyssa Monroe stepped off the Greyhound bus. Her heart pounded with a mix of hope and hesitation. She had never been this far from Atlanta, but love, she thought, was worth the distance. She clutched her phone, scrolling through old texts from Ryan Porter, the man she'd met online 6 months ago. His smile, his voice, his promises, all had built a dream she couldn't wait to see in real life. "Can't wait to finally hold you," he'd written just that morning. As the bus pulled away, Alyssa smoothed her denim jacket and looked around. The town was small and quiet, surrounded by tall pines and long country roads. Ryan had told her he lived on the outskirts, in an old farmhouse he'd inherited from his uncle. Her rideshare pulled up 20 minutes later. The driver, a friendly middle-aged woman, smiled through the rearview mirror. "Visiting family?" she asked. "Not exactly," Alyssa replied, her cheeks warming. "Meeting someone special." The driver chuckled. "Just be careful, honey. Folks ain't always who they say they are online." Alyssa forced a smile, brushing off the unease creeping into her chest. When they turned onto Willow Creek Road, the woods grew denser and phone service vanished. The house finally appeared at the end of a dirt path. Large, 2 stories, its paint faded by years of rain and sun. Still, the garden was neat, the porch swept. Someone cared about appearances here. Ryan opened the door before she could knock. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and even more handsome than his photos, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Alyssa," he said softly, wrapping her in a hug that felt both warm and distant. "You're finally here." Inside, the house smelled of pine cleaner and something faintly metallic. She noticed a locked door at the end of the hallway, but said nothing. Ryan led her to the kitchen, where 2 glasses of wine waited on the table. "To us," he said, raising his glass. They talked for hours, laughing, flirting, and reminiscing about their months of video calls. But as the night deepened, something about Ryan's calmness began to unsettle her. He didn't ask about her trip or her family, didn't seem interested in much beyond watching her every move. At midnight, Alyssa excused herself to the bathroom. On her way back, she passed that same locked door. A faint light glowed from underneath, and she could have sworn she heard a muffled sound, like someone crying. "Everything okay?" Ryan's voice came from behind her, startling her. She turned quickly, smiling nervously, yet just looking around. He stared for a long moment before placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "It's an old house. Makes strange noises." They went to bed shortly after. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains. Ryan was gone, but the smell of coffee filled the air. Alyssa wandered downstairs and saw a note on the counter. "Had to run into town for supplies. Back soon. Don't go outside alone. There's coyotes around." She smiled at his thoughtfulness and poured herself coffee. But her gaze drifted again to that locked door. Something about it gnawed at her. She set her cup down and knelt beside the door, pressing her ear to the wood. Nothing. Then, softly, a faint whimper. Her heart froze. She turned the doorknob. Locked. But the key was in the cabinet drawer, just like Ryan had said all old houses kept them. Her fingers trembled as she unlocked it. The door creaked open. Inside was a dim room lit by a single bulb. On the bed sat a young woman, wrists bound, face pale and bruised. When she saw Alyssa, her eyes widened with desperate relief. "Oh, thank God," she gasped. "Please help me. He's not who you think he is." Alyssa's breath caught. "Who are you?" "My name's Linda," the woman sobbed. "He said the same things to me that he told you. I tried to leave, and..." The front door slammed. Alyssa froze. Ryan's voice echoed through the hallway. "Alyssa? You awake?" She turned back to Linda. "Be quiet," she whispered, closing the door softly and locking it again. Her heart thundered in her chest. When Ryan appeared, smiling, a faint streak of sweat glistened on his temple. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," she said shakily. "Just unpacking." He nodded, his gaze flicking toward the locked room before he smiled again. "Good. I was thinking we could take a walk later. Maybe by the creek." Her lips twitched into a forced smile. "Sure." That night, Alyssa couldn't sleep. She replayed Linda's terrified eyes again and again. She needed to escape, but the woods were endless, her phone dead, and the nearest town miles away. Around 3 a.m., she crept downstairs. Ryan's snores echoed faintly from a bedroom. She grabbed her purse, her shoes, and the spare key from the drawer. But before leaving, she couldn't walk away without helping Linda. She returned to the locked room, unlocked it quietly, and whispered, "Come on, we're leaving." Linda struggled to her feet, weak but determined. They tiptoed down the hallway, but the old floorboards betrayed them. A creak, then another. A light flicked on behind them. Going somewhere, Ryan's calm, chilling voice cut through the darkness. Alyssa spun around. Ryan stood at the end of the hall, a pistol hanging loosely from his hand. His eyes, once soft, were cold and hollow now. "You shouldn't have opened that door," he said quietly. "You ruined everything." "Ryan, please," Alyssa begged. "She needs help." "She had help," he hissed. "She didn't appreciate it." Linda whimpered behind her. Ryan stepped closer. "You were different, Alyssa. I thought maybe this time it would work." Her mind raced. "It still can," she said, inching toward him. "We can forget this. Just let us go." He tilted his head, expression unreadable. Then, in one sudden movement, he raised the gun. Alyssa lunged, grabbing his wrist. The gun went off. Bang! A deafening echo through the house. Linda screamed. Alyssa kicked him hard, and the gun clattered across the floor. She grabbed Linda's arm, dragging her toward the front door. Ryan scrambled after them, blood running from a graze on his forehead. They burst outside into the cold night, running down the dirt path toward the trees. Behind them, Ryan shouted, "You can't run from me. You're mine." Branches whipped their faces as they tore through the woods, barefoot and breathless. Then, in the distance, headlights appeared. A truck. Alyssa waved frantically, screaming for help. The driver, an older man, slammed the brakes as the two women stumbled into the road. "Please," Alyssa cried. "He's got a gun." Ryan appeared from the darkness, shouting for them to stop. The driver pulled out his rifle, yelling, "Back off, son." Ryan froze, his chest heaving. Then, with a twisted smile, he lowered the gun to his side. "She came to me. She wanted this." The man stepped forward. "You better drop that weapon before I call the sheriff." Ryan hesitated, then ran back into the woods. The driver helped Alyssa and Linda into the truck and sped toward town. The sound of sirens grew behind them as dawn began to break. Hours later, in the small Cedar Falls police station, Alyssa sat wrapped in a blanket. Her hands trembled as she gave her statement. Linda, resting nearby, whispered a faint "thank you." The sheriff, a broad man with weary eyes, nodded after hearing their story. "We've been looking for him for months," he said. "Name's not Ryan Porter. Real name's Ethan Miles. He's lured at least 3 women before." Alyssa's stomach twisted. "Is he caught?" "Not yet," the sheriff admitted. "But he won't get far." 3 days later, Alyssa stood by her bus window, watching the Virginia hills fade into the distance. She'd promised herself she'd never trust a stranger so easily again. But deep down, she knew what had saved her wasn't luck. It was instinct, that whisper inside that told her something wasn't right. Back home in Atlanta, she deleted every dating app from her phone. Weeks later, while scrolling through local news, she saw a headline. "Remains found near Willow Creek, identified as missing woman." Her chest tightened. The photo beside the article showed Ryan. No, Ethan, still smiling the same charming smile she'd fallen for. The reporter's voice echoed in her mind. Police are still searching for Ethan Miles, believed to have fled the state. Authorities warned the public to remain vigilant. Alyssa closed the laptop and sat silently in her apartment, heart pounding. Then, a faint ding broke the stillness. Her phone screen lit up with a message from an unknown number. "Miss me?" Her blood ran cold. Outside, a car engine idled slowly in the dark street below.